Okay, students, the video you're about to watch is to help you create a 3D model using a revolve of this stuffing box. Now, one technique that you can use to develop this one is you can just simply use cylinders, and with these cylinders, you'll have to kind of study the model and figure out which cylinders and what size and all that. And you can kind of see that it would be just a series of cylinders, one here, one here, one here, and one here. And it would be just a series of cylinders to develop this model. So that is one way, and I'll show you that I have these cylinders kind of created already. So I would just simply copy the cylinder, make sure that I copied into the right geometric um, location from the center point down here and the center point to this surface right here, and then this one here from the bottom to this surface right here. Okay. So just by using cylinders, I can pretty much develop most of the model, and I just have to sit there and union the whole thing. Okay, just go in there and union it and develop a model of the stuffing box. Okay, of course, I'd still have to figure out how to do these holes. Those holes could be drawn on this surface here, and you can actually use an array command and array the cylinder and then subtract them after the fact. Now, this is where you could not, what you could, but it'll be very difficult to develop this hole specifically with this 45-degree line. Okay, so to do that with cylinders, you really can't. You could, you'd have to do a series of two cylinders here, one with a 1 5/8 diameter, the other one would be 1 3/16. But then where it gets kind of tricky is this 45-degree angle. So that could be done with what's called a cone. You can go in here and develop a cone. The cone, you can give the bottom diameter of 1 5/8, okay? And then you can develop the top. Of course, it's a radius, and I'll have to figure out the radius. And it gets tricky. It gets tricky. So you can do it. You can do it, but it gets way more complicated. So another technique that I'd like to introduce to you is what's called a revolve. So we can develop this method, this model, not using an extrude, but it would actually be a revolve. Okay. So the revolve, what it does, it takes a shape and you can revolve it around an axis and develop the 3D model that way. So then what would the shape be in this case? Now, for the stuffing box, I can create a shape of this edge here all the way to here. And then using the appropriate dimensions and angles and all that, I can develop this shape, revolve it, and I would get the same thing that I would have here. So let me start with that part. And then I'm going to add to the revolve just to kind of show you how this thing evolves, I guess. So I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm going to draw this geometry. I'm going to simply just draw this geometry of 4.5 inches. And then this way, from here this way, I'm going to go 5/8. So once again, let me kind of outline it. I'm going to draw this shape all the way to here. That's the shape I'm going to draw and revolve it. Okay. So right now I started out this back line and this one here. So let me continue. Let's see. So the whole thing is 2 7/16. 7/16 from here to here. And then, so I can kind of visualize, I'm going to draw a line in the middle. So I'll be kind of like the center of the whole shape. Now this part here, these are 2 9/16 diameter, 2 9/16. Now, to figure out half of that one, I'm going to cheat a little bit, draw myself a circle temporarily with a diameter of 2 9/16. So that way I can just draw a line from here across this way. And then this other one here is at 2 1/8, at 2 1/8. So for that one, I'm going to, again, cheat a little bit, and I'm going to use a circle with a diameter of 2 1/8. I can draw this line across this way. Okay, and then I'm going to offset this line 5/8 and 5/8 and do some trimming. 5/8 and 5/8, and then this line comes from here down this way, and probably pick this one here and do some trimming. Of course, I use my fillet command pretty much for everything. Fillet with a radius of 0. There's the shape I needed. Okay. Now, don't forget, as always, I'm going to leave this one alone. I'm going to copy it off to the side. You always want to have a closed continuous shape. Now, if you've been having trouble with that, right now, if I try to region this thing, I can tell you right now, it's not going to work. Or if it does, it's going to do some weird things. If I put a region around this whole thing, there it is. It didn't work. Why did it not work? Because it is not a closed continuous shape. You have to have that. Very, very important. So I'm just going to trim the lines. Once I have that closed continuous shape, then I can region it. And you can see that that's the way it works. So it has to have that region, I'm sorry, the closed shape with the line work so that I can actually close and then create the region. Now, once I have the region, you guys have been doing extrusions, but extrusions isn't going to work for me in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called a revolve. I'm going to use a revolve command, okay? So what is the surface I'm going to revolve? The revolve surface I'm going to revolve is this one. Enter. Then it asks us to pick our axis. So the axis I'm going to use is really the center of the object, the center right here. So I'm going to pick this point here, and then this point over here, and then I'm going to simply revolve that shape. How much? The full 360, which is what the default. So I'm just going to hit enter, and you can kind of see I really got the same thing. This is the one I did with cylinders. This is the one I revolved. Okay. So to me, this is a little easier. You model the way you want to, whatever is easier for you, but that's another way. Now, let me go one step further in that how do we handle the hole on the inside? Okay, so that has to be a little bit more intense. Now, in this case, like I mentioned earlier, you could do it with cylinders and a cone, but it'll be a lot more difficult. Let me go back to this sketch that I had, or the drawings that I had drawn here, and draw that inside part too. So I got 1 3/16. So I'm going to draw myself a circle, the diameter of 1 3/16. That's the line that's going to come across this way. And this one here is 1 5/8. So I'm going to draw myself a circle in this intersection here, diameter of 1 5/8. And then this one line here, I'm looking at it. Let me erase some stuff here. Well, I don't want to erase the whole thing, but that's okay. So I have the shape drawn already. So the part that I'm going to draw now is actually this line here. This line is the one I'm going to draw next in here. And then I'm going to draw that 45-degree angle down to this line. This line is the 1 3/16 that I just drew across this way. So then essentially, this is the shape I'm going to eventually revolve. And once I revolve it, notice I'm going to get everything. Of course, the trick to it would be I'm going to revolve around this axis. That's going to be the trick that I'm going to use in this case. So let me erase all this information and continue. So this way it's going to be 1 5/8. 1 3/8. There. And then I got a line coming this way at a 45-degree angle. I don't know the length. I'm just going to hit tab and go 45. And then it's wherever it intersects this one, which is the 1 3/16. Right there. Perfect. So then that's the shape I'm going to be using here. So then, as always, I like to always flip it on its corner to draw in 3D. I'm going to go ahead and use this shape here. So I'm going to go ahead and trim. Really need these lines. And then this is the part I'm going to region in this case. Then revolve this shape. But I'm not going to revolve it here because that's not going to give me the effect that I want. Notice that that's not going to work for me. So where I'm going to revolve it is actually from kind of like the center line axis. So I have this line here and this line here. Then I take that shape and revolve it the full 360. That, ladies and gentlemen, is another way of how to draw 3D models using a revolve technique. But in this case, notice I did everything all in one step. I did everything all in one step. On these here, I could have used those, but then I had to kind of figure out how to do the middle part. Now, if I had those, another thing I can do, let me kind of show you this, is I can go a step further, and let me copy this guy. In this case, just to show you, I'm going to revolve. I'm going to region this and leave it there, and then revolve this shape from here to here, the full 360. So that gets it all done in one shot. And that's pretty much the end of that. Now, could I do the cylinders, or this case, and then cut out the middle part? I sure can. So another thing I can do here is I kind of have this part here in the middle, so I can go in here and use this shape. And then in this case, what I'm going to do is not use this part. I would region this part here, revolve this part from this axis, the full 360. Then I would move this part center here to center here, and then subtract. From this one, subtract that shape in there. And I just created that shape specifically, and I revolve it, but I just use it specifically just for a subtraction. And you notice I can get the exact same thing. So there's several ways of using that revolve, and several ways of using the revolve. It's just another technique that I can introduce to you to generate 3D models. Plus, you'll need this for your assignment.